Welcome to the Veterinary Marketing Podcast, where it's all about how to attract, engage, and retain clients to your veterinary hospital using digital marketing. My name is Brandon Brashear. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about content marketing. And if you are thinking about creating a post titled Safety Tips for Your Pet Over This Holiday, I'm going to hope that I can prevent you from making that mistake. I'll tell you what I mean by that, because I think you can do much, much better. So that's, I think, really important that we get out ahead of these things. I'm going to help you too. So in this episode, I hope that you're going to take some insights. I've been diving really deep over the past year into content creation, content marketing, and I'm going to share every single thing that I learned in this past year, which has been investing a tremendous amount of very intentional time in figuring out and improving my content. I'm not an expert. I'm always going to be a student, but I feel like my content creation, also my content strategy, is a lot better than it was a year ago. So we're going to talk about how things have changed, because there's been massive changes when it comes to content creation. We're going to talk about how to get more out of your content, the parts that you should be focusing on more, so that you're not creating stuff that just falls flat. So this is going to be a really helpful episode, really beneficial episode. I hope that you listen all the way through. If you know somebody who would benefit from this, be sure to share this with them. If there's somebody you feel like could be helpful, let me know. So before we begin, just a couple things. First of all, we have two sponsors. Thank you to two sites by Brad Haven. We got Used Vet Equipment and NewVetEquipment.com. For over 9 years now, UsedVetEquipment.com has been helping vets buy and sell used vet equipment. They have everything from cages, kennels, pumps, x-ray equipment, lasers, ultrasounds, dental equipment, surgery equipment, lab equipment from Abaxis, IDEX, and Heska, tables, tubs, and sinks, vet trucks, and vet boxes. What do you have to sell? At UsedVetEquipment.com, they bring the buyer and seller together. Also, if you're looking for new veterinary equipment with amazing warranties, check out NewVetEquipment.com, where they show you the price up front. They have digital x-ray equipment, dental x-ray equipment, ultrasound equipment, LED surgery lighting, surgery tables, autoclaves. When you go to NewVetEquipment.com, you'll clearly see the price on every item for sale. You'll also be able to check out the warranty so that you buy without regret. At NewVetEquipment.com, they show you the price and give you a great warranty. All right, another thing too, be sure to head on over to Instagram and follow at Veterinary Marketing Podcast. That's my Instagram. I've been posting a ton of content over there just on Instagram. So if you're interested, be sure to check it out. I have some free courses and stuff in my bio that you can access as well. So again, thank you so much to our sponsors, NewVetEquipment.com and UsedVetEquipment.com. Seriously, they make the podcast possible, and I really appreciate them. So show them some love. Head on over to UsedVetEquipment.com and NewVetEquipment.com. All right, so let's get into today's episode. So content. Content, I think, is more important than ever for a few reasons, but it's also probably more difficult than ever because the market is so saturated. So let's talk about how you can easily stand out, how you can get more attention, how you can get more out of it, and hopefully meet the goals that you have when it comes to marketing. So I think more than ever, and this is a result of TikTok, but the algorithms are showing content more based on not necessarily the people that you follow, but the topics that you're interested in. TikTok was a game changer in that it changed the way that social platforms work. That algorithm, for the first time, was set up so that you're just constantly shown stuff that you're interested in, not people that you know, people that you follow. And so if you've noticed, especially with Instagram, YouTube Shorts, YouTube's algorithm, they're all seemingly adopting this model. And it makes sense because it's a lot more engaging and a lot more interesting to have content that you're interested in more so than just brands that you follow. And there's obviously going to be a mix of that, but that's a really important distinction to note, because even if you get a huge amount of subscribers, if you started creating, or followers, if you started creating content that's off your topic and off your target, you're probably not going to get views on it. If you're creating content that's not getting views and not getting engagement and not getting clicks and you're not seeing growth from it, you're probably trying to be too either relational, you're not interesting enough, or you're just not on the right topics that your subscribers or followers are actually interested in my opinion. So it's important, and I think that's a good thing, because I think a lot of people create content just to put it out. A lot of people are creating content just based on kind of what they think their followers would like to do, but not really looking at what people are engaging with. They're not making adjustments. And so there are lots of brands and lots of businesses out there that are just killing it with content, and they're doing amazing, and you can still get organic content and organic traffic from your content. So I'll kind of break down my thoughts on what the best ways to approach this is here, but there's also, I think, ways that you can just tackle a lot more volume of content without more work, and we'll talk about that too. So the most important thing, in my opinion, is, and I had this wrong for a long time, by the way, and I thought that the phrase content is king meant that the only thing you should focus on is the content itself, not the aspects around it. But just if the contents of what you're producing is high quality, that's all that matters. But that's unfortunately not true. Here's what I mean. If you can't get attention, and if you can't get people looking at your content, whether it's your Instagram posts, your videos, your emails, whatever your content is, if you can't get that open or that initial click or that initial engagement, it doesn't matter how good the content is. So if you create content that's amazing, but it doesn't have a good hook, doesn't have a good thumbnail, it's not attention grabbing, it's not going to do well. Even if your content is mediocre, if you have a good thumbnail, a good hook, you're going to get a lot more engagement and traction. So first thing we need to figure out, what is going to be the hook? And actually, my suggestion would be to spend as much time, this is going to sound crazy, as much time thinking about the content that you're going to be creating. What kind of goals do you want to be meeting? What are the different ideas and hooks? And how can we get people engaged here? What are the tactics that are going to get people engaged and retaining on this content? And spend as much time on that aspect as you are on the actual content itself. And I had that completely backwards when I was doing content even just a little bit over a year ago. So my thought was, I'm going to put all of my time and energy into this content, and then I'm going to throw up a thumbnail. It's an afterthought. I'm going to think of a title. That's an afterthought. I'm going to think of this hook here. That's an afterthought. In reality, if you get more attention on the front end of this process, you're going to get way more views, way more engagement. Now, I made that comment. If you're thinking about creating a piece of content that's like holiday safety tips or Thanksgiving safety tips, let's use that as an example here. If you're going to think about Thanksgiving safety tips, everybody does that. And I saw everybody posting Halloween safety tips for pets. That is the least compelling headline I've ever seen. And you have such a good opportunity to make it fun and interesting. So here's what I mean. Like if you're doing a piece of content for Halloween, so how to keep your dog from becoming a zombie this Halloween. Like that's way better than just pet safety tips. Like talk about things that are killers. Talk about things that are deadly. Really put that into the headlines and the topics there. And the truth is, like, there's a lot of these things are deadly. So like pet safety tips doesn't convey the importance. It doesn't convey the urgency with this. So stop being boring. Stop being middle of the road bland. There's no wonder why your Halloween safety tips post got 2 likes and 50 views. It's because it's super, super boring. Think about a better hook, a better headline, and that same piece of content is going to be more engaging, more fun, and ultimately more helpful. Okay, so there's 3 different parts to the attention grabbing that I think you should try to shoot for. One is it useful? So something that people will say, wow, this is really helpful, useful. I need to save this for later. I need to make sure that my friends have this. What is the piece of content that you could put out that would be good enough that people would say, I need to save this for later. I'm going to click the save button on Instagram, or I'm going to send this to my friends. I'm going to share this to my story. On top of that, if you can make it funny, that is awesome too, because people love humor. Humor is an easy way to cut through, and people love sharing funny stuff. That's one of the 2 things that people share all the time. So people share funny, people share helpful and useful, not just kind of helpful, useful, actually helpful and useful. And then the last one is entertaining. And that's kind of production value, right? So like you see amazing drone videos where they're like flying a drone up the side of the Empire State Building and it's like super cool. Or, something that has more production value or more time or cool edits or something, right? That's engaging. It doesn't have to be funny, but it can be. But usually there's more production value. If you have the ability to make something entertaining, and this isn't going to be every single piece, but the better you are at it, the better you're going to do in terms of engagement, likes, follows, etc. So attention, make it useful, funny, and entertaining if possible. All three of those are excellent. If not, just shoot for useful, and if not, shoot for funny. But typically you're going to need to be useful because you're trying to serve somebody in your business. So you could do only funny, but I would try to combine at least funny and useful. And that brings us to the real kind of important concept that we need to make sure that we're engaging here is, what is the goal of the content? So the content that you're putting out, you should have some pieces of content that's for awareness, some that's for engagement, and some that's for conversion. And if you're not sure what to do, I would just do one of each, just one after the other. So attention, awareness, engagement, and then conversion. And then beyond that, we need to figure out the target markets that we're going to be trying to reach and attract. And I think that you need to have, for your practice, 2 or 3 general buckets that are going to be far more general, and then sub-markets of each of those buckets that are going to be 2 or 3 different topics. And here's the reasoning for that. So being useful, if you're creating holiday pet tips for safety, that's super general, okay? So let's think about the different markets that you could do. If you're general practice, you could have dogs, cats, and exotics, for example. Those are 3 buckets. And then beyond that, you could have sub-markets of each one, right? So kitten clients, you could have senior cats, you could have dental cat, right? So those are sub-markets of those general niche markets. The more niche that you get, the more useful you're going to be to that sub-market. If you did holiday tips for Great Dane owners, that's not necessarily exciting, but it's going to be super helpful and super useful to that niche audience. And if you have a large audience or a large segment of clients that are Great Dane owners, that's a great idea. But the more specific that you're going to be, the more useful it is. And an example that I always give is that I have the Veterinary Marketing Podcast. A lot of these concepts would be useful to just general small business and people that are doing digital marketing. But because I make it more specific to veterinary hospitals, and I give you examples specific for veterinary hospitals, and I have that industry knowledge, it's more useful to veterinarians, which makes it more engaging to vets. And so I'm able to follow up and get more listeners in the veterinary industry and then repel people that are out of it. So think about that. You need to know what the goal is and who the target is. And beyond that, you need to be consistent. So have a specific goal in terms of getting how many times you're going to be posting and how many times what platforms you're going to be focusing in on. For most veterinary hospitals, my suggestion would be doing Instagram and Facebook. And so the way that you would do that is you could hook up your Facebook to your Instagram. So it's going to automatically publish to Facebook. That way you only have to produce content on Instagram, do stories, do reels, and do posts on Instagram. And that right there takes care of a lot of posting between both. The next thing that I would suggest doing is that when you go to create a reel, before you publish it, hit the save button, download the reel. You're going to have a finished reel product that you can then post on both YouTube Shorts as well as TikTok. And I think that that is going to be helpful. It won't have watermarks on it, and it'll be able to be used and native. I wouldn't save it after you publish it because then you're going to have watermarks on it. I found that when you're posting something, if you don't create it natively, meaning if you're repurposing it for multiple sites, you're going to see a decrease in your engagement. Especially with YouTube Shorts, I've seen that when I post YouTube Shorts, it doesn't get as much engagement if it has that watermark and it's just repurposed. So Each one of these platforms wants native product. They want native engagement. So make sure that you're posting those on each individually without watermarks, and you're going to be getting a lot more engagement there. So with that consistency, though, you need to make sure that you're serving the right demographics. And I would say that you can absolutely change this and you can shift this, but you need to be testing your major buckets as well as sub buckets. Now, the more general that you go, the more funny, entertaining, and the better hook you're going to have. So the more work you're going to have to put on it because it's a lot more general, right? So the bigger the market that you have to be interesting, and you have to really create something that's better. If you're more niche, you don't have to be as fancy, and you're just going to be helpful to that smaller audience. But within consistency, right, you're going to want to keep a schedule where you're posting and serving all of these people, because the data that Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube is going to get is they're going to start to use these different engagement markers to find out who your audience is, and so that when you publish something, it's going to be able to push it out to people that they're thinking it's going to be interested in, right? These platforms want to help foster engagement within their platforms. They want good content on there. And so you need to consistently be serving these buckets of niche clients so that you can get more engagement and kind of show each one of these different niches some love. So then I think beyond that, we need to make sure that we are tracking and seeing what works. A lot of times you're going to be surprised on what works and what doesn't. And I think it's important that you are, number one, on a regular basis reviewing how much reach you're getting, how many engagements you're getting, what your actual conversions look like. Especially with organic, you want to be driving conversions. And so typically you'd like to have some kind of relevant offer, whether it's an email list, whether it's a first exam, whatever it is that you're driving engagement to. So when you are trying to get, more clients, for example, you're going to want to make sure that you have a relevant offer to get more clients. If you're just posting content and you expect the clients to go visit your website and be proactive, you're going to have a lot less conversion than if you're directing people to your new client offer, which includes X, Y, and Z, and gives people access to certain benefits and whatever it is. But you need to make sure that you're directing people to a specific offer so that you can measure that goal. And then at that point, you're going to be able to analyze and improve. Part of analyzing and improving is also being a student of the platform. So seeing what works. If you see something that has a ton of likes and comments and engagement, what are the elements? What's the hook? Why are people commenting? Are they commenting to show how smart they are? Are they commenting because they're giving their experience? Like, what is it that is causing that engagement? And try to reverse engineer it. But every time you see something that's funny, that you really like, that you want to model and use in your practice, say, what was the benefit? What was the benefit to the audience? Who was the audience? Was it general? Was it niche? And then what was the engagement on it? And that way you can both use your own experience, but also the experience of other people that are being successful and model that. I think modeling is really, really important, especially within TikTok and Reels and things. A lot of the things that work for some people, if you duplicate them and just do it yourself, it's not considered stealing because people are using each other's ideas all the time. But be sure to give some link back to thanks for the idea type of a thing. But you can really duplicate things that are working and jump on trends and make it fun. So the last thing that I think is really, really helpful when it comes to content creation, and it's probably unexpected, is having a system for creating that content. And what I've found is that if I can have a good naming convention, it's going to help me save so much time, which is, I think, a big benefit. If you have a team you need to have a naming convention when it comes to how we name pictures, how we name videos, how we name finished products, and where all of those things are stored. So I've been saving all of my Canva projects. I have templates in Canva at different layouts. I have finished product both in PNG format, PDF format, video format, so that I can publish to all these different platforms. When you have something that you like and it works, you can publish it multiple times. You don't have, especially with these platforms like Instagram, the lifespan of this content is pretty short, okay? I know it's posted up there, but especially if you have hundreds or even thousands of posts, don't feel bad about reposting something that worked well and reusing it, especially on like an annual basis, because I think that makes sense. If you produce something, you save it, and you want to talk about a relevant post that's really relevant to an offer that worked really well last year, try it again and see what you can do to improve it. But having some naming convention and storing convention for all of your content is really helpful. And what I mean by that is, so I'll post carousels, for example, and I'll have carousels, I'll have the topics, and then I'll have the file names so that it's very clear what the file is. I don't have to click and open it. It will typically reference the call to action. Now, one step further is I have a product called, not a product, but I have a thing called a content silo. My content silo, just like a grain silo, I just fill it up, and it has all my content pieces. It has links to download those things so that I can quickly reference topical content. I know if it's top, middle, or bottom of funnel. I also know what is the relevant offer, what is the link to that offer, and it lets me just really make quick work of reposting content that I've already created. And using that in terms of a library helps me to get way, way more out of the content that I'm making. So that is in a nutshell. First off, let's recap, because it's important. We covered a lot here. The first thing that I think that you need to do is, number one, figure out who your niche buckets are that you're going to be targeting. Beyond that, think about your hooks and your ideas of your content. Start off with trying to figure out what's going to generate the most attention. How can we frame this piece of content in a way that's going to get more clicks, engagement, etc.? If we want to get more attention, we need those three elements. We need it to be useful, funny, and entertaining. But hook is most important. That idea is going to help to get people there. And then after the hook is retention. So you want people to see it and then stay around, watch it, and engage with it. Next, we're going to need to create consistency, be able to measure and analyze if it's working or not, and then work to improve. So once you're figuring things out, always work to improve. Try to figure out what tweaks you can make, what's working, what's not. Also by looking at other people's content and seeing what's getting lots of likes, comments, and engagement. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, you need help with anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can message me on Instagram at Veterinary Marketing Podcast. I've been creating a lot of content there, so if you're interested, be sure to follow on Instagram. If you need any help with your marketing, I know a lot of practices that I've been talking to lately are seeing slowdowns. I think slowdowns in the economy are coming, so if you're a private practice who wants help to growing their practice, be sure to send me a message. Instagram's a great place to do that. You can actually book a strategy call with me there. Links in the bio, but let me know if there's anything you need help with. Happy to help, and I hope you're having a great day. Bye, everybody.